As tensions rise on the Ukraine-Russia border, there are increased concerns about the humanitarian toll a Russian invasion could have on the Ukrainian people. Erol Yayboke is a director at the Center for Strategic and International Studies. Erol, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
So give us an idea of the current humanitarian situation in Ukraine in light of the previous Russian invasion, which was in 2014.
Absolutely. I think lots of people forget that after the Russian invasion of 2014, there was a significant humanitarian fallout. And by UN estimates, over 3 million people currently, pre this new Russian invasion, if it ever happens, over 3 million people are in need of humanitarian assistance. A lot of those, hundreds of thousands of those at least, are internally displaced people, people who have been forced from home by conflict.
I was going to ask you about the situation with refugees and internally displaced persons. That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people. It places Ukraine in the top 20 countries of internally displaced people worldwide. So we don't think of Ukraine always as this hotspot conflict zone that forces a lot of people from home. But post-2014, that's actually been the reality.
So what kind of humanitarian assistance is Ukraine receiving now, and from whom?
So the international community, and in particular the UN, but also significant support by the United States government, the United States Agency for International Development, USAID, the State Department, PRM, Population, Refugees, and Migration, a whole host of places around the world are providing humanitarian support to Ukrainians. However, it's worth noting that most of that support is needed in the non-government controlled areas in eastern Ukraine. However, access to those areas remains very limited.
What do you mean the non-government controlled areas?
So there's two eastern regions, Luhansk and I'm sorry, I'm forgetting the name of the other one, but there's two regions in eastern Ukraine that are basically divided. After 2014, there's a contact line that separates the government-controlled areas, so the places that are controlled by Kiev, and the places that are controlled by more Russian-backed separatists. And there's actually borders between those two parts of the same region, the same province. There are borders that, by most estimates, are stronger than most international borders that separate them.
Well, a Russian invasion would obviously make things worse. In what way, though?
It really depends on the direction of the invasion, how significant it is. Right now, Russia is encircling Ukraine on three sides, including to the north in Belarus. And so if they were to invade from all sides, then you could certainly see people being forced from home, trying to just go wherever they can, including outside of Ukraine. I think a lot of estimates, or a lot of experts think that the invasion, if it does come, might come from the eastern parts of Ukraine, in which case it really just depends on how far into Ukraine they go.
I mean, does the civilian population of Ukraine know what to do in the event of a Russian invasion? Are they making preparations?
So I talked to a few civil society leaders in Ukraine last week, and I think the unfortunate answer is not really. They are certainly used to insecurity and Russian aggression, but there's not a sense of where am I going to go if the tanks roll in? Where am I going to go if a bomb destroys the house next to me? I'm not sure that everybody's made those plans yet.
And how are those humanitarian and civil society organizations preparing for a possible invasion?
Absolutely. I think the humanitarian organizations and different arms of the UN are certainly putting in place contingency plans for if the invasion does come from this direction, this is where people will go. So we need to pre-position supplies in those areas. I think the concern of the humanitarian agencies on the ground is that contact line, that border internal to Ukraine that I mentioned, is really not allowing people to pass right now. So in the event of an invasion, it's unlikely that they will just open up and allow people in that area, millions of people in that area to flee. And so that's, I think, where the biggest concern of the humanitarian community is right now.
Well, I wonder what you think U.S. policymakers should be focused on. What can they do, if anything?
So I asked this question to Ukrainian friends and colleagues as well, and they said two things. One is that when U.S. policymakers are making plans and preparations to respond to a new Russian invasion, they need to go, those plans and preparations need to go beyond the military and the diplomatic. They have to include how to support civilians in need. And the second is to keep up pressure on both Russia and the Russia-controlled separatists, those non-government controlled areas in eastern Ukraine, keep up pressure on those authorities to allow those humanitarian agencies access to provide support to people in need.
All right. Well, Erol, appreciate you joining us. Certainly hope for the best for the Ukrainian people.
Thank you so much.